Welcome to Implicit Bias. My name is Caleb Morse. And you probably realize that I don't know how many cameras you can see right now, but Kevon's not sitting here with us. That's because Kevon is doing the great deed of spending time with his family. Is that the right? Should I say great deed? That makes it sound like he shouldn't be, doesn't it? Oh, well. Kevon's spending time with his wife, not his children, because that's what you should do as a father. Abandon the kids. Nope, that's a joke. Don't do that. Please, please don't. But take time to enjoy the little things. Take time to enjoy your family. Remember what we work toward. I'm not going to sit in and do a monologue. I don't think if you realize that yet or not, but we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to dive right into some topics and have a good time. Hour one brought to you by Piper's Heaven, 3916 West Congress. If you can see in the video, I'm trying to remember because that's how I recall information, because it's taken me 5 or 6 years to remember Renee's address. You Googling it right now, Walker? You should, to double check me. But I don't have to know this person's address because they can say it because they're here in-house. Jonathan Broussard with Industrial Fabrication Services. I said it right?
You got it right.
Boom, on the money, baby.
On the money.
And you can be found at
910 Garber Road, Broussard.
See, who needs a GPS when you got the guy right next to you?
That's right. That's right. Hey, I got a question. Is the camera height right? Do you need to be adjusted a little bit?
No, see, this one, they set it up, they angle it down for whenever it's Kevon.
Okay,
for me, it's just level.
It's just level. Okay, good.
You kind of realize, too, like when you sit in the comfy chairs, that, they're made for someone our size.
You mean full grown?
Full grown.
Okay,
full grown.
I got you. Okay.
And up at the bar, sitting by himself, enjoying the smorgasbord of alcohol in front of him, is Daniel. Daniel, do you want us to say your last name on air or no?
That's fine.
So Daniel Hale.
Yeah.
So
That's fine.
Daniel, is this your first time doing a podcast or a radio show or anything else?
Mm-hmm. Well, I actually, my first job when I moved here was late nights on KRVS doing jazz. So
Really?
that was an interesting episode. But.
If there's anything that I have learned about you, it's that, man, there is a ton to you. There's a ton beneath the surface. And never cease to amaze me. I'll tell you that right now. For those of you out there in listener land, whatever medium you're using to listen to us, be it all the terrestrial radio stations and these wonderful locations that have us, I think now most of them now have up to hour 2. I don't think there's anyone left that just has the 1 hour of the show. So we're very grateful that y'all are asking and getting what you asked for, which is more of your implicit bias. For everyone else, Spotify, Apple, iTunes podcasts. What other mediums do we use? What other ways can people listen to us? YouTube?
Facebook, X.
Facebook, X. Oh, that's great things. Anything else?
I think that's it.
These are things that I should know.
Huh?
Well, yeah, KLFY Plus now, which is the newest way to listen. That I'll be honest, I don't know much about it. I know that KLFY is trying to bring back some of our local flavor that we had in Louisiana that we lost, and they're trying to push that for Acadiana. So you can go on, download, subscribe to KLFY Plus, and then now you can actually subscribe to Implicit Bias bonus content. Right there would be a perfect point for dun, dun, dun. We have that? No. Lesson learned. So, but bonus content will be available. I think the term that Kevon used was raw, unfiltered, and uncut.
Enter at your own risk.
Yeah. I think that the things that we discuss that on air is more than enough for most people. But for those daunting few, tune in and get us and subscribe to the bonus content because I honestly don't know what we're going to talk about. So today we have a few little topics for today to discuss. But the impending weather kind of threw a kink in the chain. We had some cancellations and everything else. So Daniel actually came in last minute as a phone call. I was like, you know what? I'll drop everything to drink tequila. And for those of y'all that normally listen to the show, tequila is not something you really hear. Normally it's bourbon, whiskey, rye, darker liquors. And I enjoy my rye. I enjoy the spice. I enjoy high proof. But I'm going to tell you right now, I really, really love a good tequila too. I like them neat. A good tequila neat is phenomenal. I like them in margaritas. You can mix them, do whatever else you want. But man, a good tequila with a ice cube or a chilled glass with a hint of lime is phenomenal. And right now what we're trying, I don't know what they can see. Tuggo's going to use his laser pointer to identify that. I made up the fact that he has one. This is Cantera Negra. So it means the black quarry. This is their añejo. That's the first one we're going to have. It's 100% agave. And when you start getting into tequilas and looking at tequilas, one of the things to look for is the purer the tequila, the better. So 100% agave, the agave plant, it'll be water, agave, and yeast. That's it. And when you get to something like this, I mean, I remember when I was younger and drank tequila, it was like Jose, you know?
The one and only.
Yeah, that's you drank that because you were chasing after that worm that wasn't in the bottle.
You saw that hair growing on your chest too.
Yeah.
You wanted to test your manhood out at that point. You know?
You wanted to put on a sombrero and celebrate Cinco de Mayo and do it, saying you could do it right. But what I've learned is that good tequila is not that. Good tequila is stuff like this. You know,
Absolutely.
Quintana Negra, you can get this through our whiskey sponsor. So New News has this on their shelf, and we're going to go through, we're going to drink it, we're going to sample it, we're going to rate it, we're going to play What Would You Pay? We're going to go down some rabbit holes with this, but this tequila is nothing like what you're thinking on the radio. So what I would like to do is you've sampled a little bit.
I did.
Can you, while I'm drinking, would you mind talking about what you find, the hints, the flavors, and everything else?
So for me, it's very easy to spot a good tequila because you can sip on it and it's not kicking you in the dirt immediately. This one goes down really smooth. It's light in color. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it. The oak is fresh. The fresh oak flavor is coming out to me. And a little bit of grassy, but it's very smooth.
Grassy.
Little bit of grassy.
Ooh. Like, it's funny because when you said that, I was like, ooh, sage. Like, I get like a sage kind of flavor.
Like very light.
Mm-hmm.
Very light.
And what I've noticed too, especially with this one, is heavy vanilla. Heavy vanilla. It's a little sweeter. It's got a little hint of bite. I mean, I don't even know the proof on this one.
It's
probably
80 proof.
80 proof. A little sweeter. I get good caramel and heavy vanilla.
Absolutely.
On it. And
Heavy vanilla.
And it's not, I don't drink this and think immediate heartburn.
Yes,
So
indeed.
This is something like, you know, I'll drink Los Abuelos, Tequila Ocho, G8. These are some of the tequilas that I drink that I really enjoy. This is up there with them.
This stuff will turn you into a tequila drinker. It's that good. I'm really surprised because I don't mess with tequila a whole lot, but I actually like this one a lot.
Well, I'm excited about trying the Reposado next because I think that one we're going to get a little bit more flavor. So the Añejo is aged for 18 months in oak barrels, non-charred, and it really, you can tell the difference because of the flavor. Daniel, you want to give us any flavor notes, any hints that you find in there?
I definitely agree. It's light and smooth. I'm also not a heavy tequila drinker, so I don't really have much expertise. But I was gonna say, you know, I can definitely taste the agave. I'm thinking maybe that's where you were going with the grassy comment, and I like that. Actually, I like that. I agree. It's a little sweet. Not too sweet, but, you know, enough to make it pleasant. And, yeah, I mean, I'd drink it again.
Oh, well, in a heartbeat. and that's what gets me is, you know, as we do this show more and more and we come across different things, I like to step outside of our normal bounds, right? And where we traditionally stick with whiskeys and ryes and bourbons and everything else, you cannot forget about the other spirits. You know, the biggest spirit in the U.S. for years was gin, right? Gin was a big thing here, and then the juniper, and then vodka came in and overthrew them. And we forget about all these other spirits that are out there and how pleasant they can be. Because depending on where you are, depending on where you grew up, you know, in South Louisiana, it's hard not to be 16 years old drinking out of somebody's glass or doing something else during Mardi Gras or whatever else. You know?
Getting samples all the way around. Right?
Yeah. You know, and we live in a state where a child can consume with their parent legally and everything in moderation. But a young, less wise, less monitored Caleb didn't do so much in moderation. And that's where I came into tequila and Jack Daniels and all these others. And then now I'm learning how much good liquor is actually out there. And I see how much time I wasted on stuff where I really should have been trying to find something better, something different, something more natural even. And that's what I like about this is when you look at it, there's not a lot of additives in this. It's agave, water, yeast.
Yeah. I get that. It does. It tastes clean. It does.
And that's the benefit when you get to, no matter what your liquor is, when you get to something that's got less additives in it, it tastes better. It tastes better. It tastes better for you because it doesn't have all this other stuff that we put in there to fill it, to cover up the bad things that are in it. So I'm excited.
I think a lot of times it doesn't matter what you drink, and when you taste a lot of things and you can't identify it, it's usually filler of some sort. Which if it comes through one grain or the other, or the barrel, or lack of aging or whatever, it sticks out, and it's sometimes can be off-putting.
I've never eaten something and be like, you know what? I need more red number 5. I've never had that. I'm like, ooh, more bacon maybe, but never.
That's right.
So I think when you get to something that's more pure, you enjoy it more because you get to find how it stands on its own.
It's like eating a steak with just salt and black pepper.
Oh yeah. So while we're talking about this, we got our tasting notes and everything else. So we're gonna rate it right now. We're gonna jump into that. So our rating scale, the Morse Whiskey rating scale, which we'll use for tequila too. Red, I wouldn't drink this even if it was free. Yellow, I would drink it only if it was free. Wow, I just drew a blank. I drew a complete blank. Red, yellow, green. I would drink this again. I would buy this. I would like it. I enjoy it. And then blue, I will seek this out. I need it on my bar. So, gentlemen, I'll let y'all go first, and then we'll give it our rate. I'll give it my rating. We'll see how it wins and how it rates overall.
This is definitely a green for me. I wouldn't know what to compare it to because I'm not a big tequila drinker to say that it's a blue. But I would definitely drink this.
Okay. All right. What would you pay for this? What do you think a bottle?
I'm going to say 75.
Okay. All right. I'm going to mark it down in my book. Daniel?
I mean, for me, it's a green. And it's not a fair assessment because I don't particularly like drinking tequila in general. But if I felt like I needed a good tequila, I would and if I found this, I would definitely buy it and I would definitely drink it again. So green. Yeah, and if I had to guess how much it costs, definitely over 50, under 100. So I think 75 is fair.
Give you. So I forgive me. I didn't initiate.
Price is Right.
It's like a Price is Right.
Okay,
Can't use the same one. You can give them a penny less, penny more.
All right, I'll say 80 then.
80. Okay. So this for me is a green. Like this is a phenomenal tequila. The flavor, it's oily. It lasts. It's got legs. My glass is still dripping. It's there. It could be. Do I want to say it could be better? I don't know if it really can be better as it sits now. I have had some phenomenal tequilas, and they all do things a little different. Sometimes the story behind them makes them better. This one's on the cusp of being a blue, but this is a solid green for me. Some unanimous green across the board.
Considering the age of it too,
Oh yeah,
it's in the alcohol world, it's young.
Yep, and you took 18 months, right? So with tequila, there's a really good ROI on it. You have to let it sit for 6-7 years, a decade, to where you get this kind of flavor. So you get a quick turnaround with it, and then you can get a ton of flavor out of it. This, I can't tell you exactly what Nunu's has on the shelf for. Did Connor leave you a receipt or anything else? No. Shame on you, Connor. I'm going to go on a limb here. I know about where it sits on the dollar price, right? A dollar amount. So traditionally, this is a $65 bottle. $65. And when you compare it to other stuff out there that people buy that's $20, $25, like I would buy this every day of the week. This tequila is worth drinking. This tequila is worth having on your bar. Drink it more than just on Cinco de Mayo. Drink it more than just a margarita. You don't have to add all that stuff to a good liquor for it to really be enjoyable. So when are the prices right on this one? Jonathan Broussard, you get to wear the What Would You Pay belt chain brought to you by Box Drop. Is your back doing okay today?
It's fine. Yeah,
For now, it's fine. We'll see how it
It'll be
goes
all
by
right.
the end of the day.
We'll test it out.
You ever got tested for lead poisoning?
Not lately. I think last time I was on the show, I actually got to wear it as well.
We should keep track of that. We should keep. I think that Mike still has probably the best run. He had like 10 in a row, but we should probably track that better. But when we get to our break, we'll toss that on you. Everything else, have a good time with it. In the meantime, how much longer is left of this segment? 3 minutes? Was that 3 minutes? Or you telling me it's okay?
3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
And it's okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and open up my phone here and get to our topics because there are a few of them that I really want to dive into and enjoy. The first one, this popped up on my feed, and I was kind of trying to figure it out because there's not a ton of information out there about it, and it made me kind of really wonder where it was coming from. But out of Colorado, there is the House Bill. Let me find the number here. House Bill 25-132. So it passed the Colorado House. It's heading to the Senate, where it's expected to pass. And what this bill refers to is specifically for custody battles, okay? So in a custody battle, if one parent does not affirm or agree with gender transitioning or with medication and everything else to provide for gender transitioning, or if they don't refer to the child by their newly identified gender, name, and all that, it can and will be used against the parent. Can and will be used against the parent. And look, y'all, when we look at everything that the government's involved in, I don't want the government involved in more. Especially now, like on just this, you're looking at just for custody hearings. If a father or a mother says, no, I don't want my child to transition. No, I don't want to give my child these hormones. No, I don't want to mutilate my child's genitalia or body composition. That can be used against you, and you can lose custody of your child. Currently in Colorado, and I say currently, it looks like it's going to pass the Senate. So this is what's proposed. To me, this is a step in the wrong direction.
Absolutely. It's pacification. The parent who's going to pacify and give the child what they want is going to turn out to the good, according to what they consider good. Mm-hmm. But it's really sad, in my opinion, that we will not let the families hash it out and have the government get involved in a domestic, with something that should be taken care of or discussed amongst the family itself, even if they're going through a divorce.
Well, when you look at it, the role of parents is to protect children from other people and themselves. I don't know about y'all, but when I was born, I was not a genius, right? And when I was little, for some reason, I told people that I didn't tell them my name was Caleb Morse. My name was Caleb Ooby Duke Morse, and I wanted to be called Ooby Duke. And look, this was early on in my life. I have no memory of this. My mother would tell me this, right? And thank God that my mother didn't say, well, yes, his name is Ooby Duke. Because at this point in my life, at 40 some odd years old, trying to explain that to somebody would be very difficult. So my mother did the right thing and said, you're acting like a child and I have to parent. And that's what we need. We need parents to be parents and stand up for the betterment of their children, not for these strange thoughts that pop into your head as a child or as an adult, because randomly, you never know what's going to be in there. Just like the 1 minute finger waving at me and flagging me, telling me we need a break. So hang on, sit tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Implicit Bias, section 2 of hour 1 of the rest of your life. Thank you for listening to us on whatever means that you're listening to us right now, be it terrestrial radio on all the wonderful radio stations, be it Spotify, Apple iTunes. Did you say Grindr? They can find us on Grindr? Or is it just you that's on that, Walker? No, you're not just on that, or you just Cat got your tongue right now? Cat got his tongue. We figured out how that works. So welcome back to Implicit Bias. We're sitting down. We're talking about Colorado House Bill 25-312. Was that what it was? I look at you because you're supposed to be in charge of this stuff, Walker. You keep me on track, and you're doing a poor job about it.
There is no keeping you on track.
All right, yeah. It's House Bill 25-1312. And I want to read an excerpt from this, okay? The bill creates what's called the Kelly Loving Act. Section 2 of this bill provides that when making child custody decisions and determining the best interests of a child, for purposes of parental time, a court shall consider dead naming. Dead naming is when you refer to someone by their birth given name. So in my case, that's Caleb Morse. Jonathan, would I be safe to assume that your birth name is Jonathan? And
That's correct.
Daniel, you as well? Mm-hmm. Okay, now, Walker, we'll just assume. Dead naming, misgendering, or threatening to publish material related to an individual's gender-affirming healthcare as types of coercive control. And these can be used against you. So when you refer to someone by their name given to them by birth, that has a negative impact on time you get to spend with your child, or if you get to spend time with your child.
Which is decided by a third party.
Which is, yes. This is where we are as a people right now.
Imagine how hard that is for a parent who took the time to name that child, agreeably between both parents more than likely. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for years you've called them one thing, and, you know, now you have to change your ways of how you affirm or contact even, you know. Just the simple aspect of day-to-day stuff where you just spurt it out. Hey, Caleb, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
You know, I didn't mean to call you Caleb again, you know.
Well, this shows how little research the court's actually doing. Because Denmark did a study, there were a few other studies done, but a person who has gone through the transgender process, right? And in Denmark, transgender means that can mean something as simple as just legally changing your name, okay? That person is 7 to 8 times more likely to commit suicide than what is now termed cisgendered, CIS gendered. A cisgendered person is a person who identifies as their birth gender. I love now that there's a derogatory term associated with being sane. Like, that just makes me, like, it fires me up. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Cis, S-I-S?
CIS.
CIS,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and there's meaning behind it and all that stuff, but look.
I think you said it.
Yeah, I identify
call it sane.
Yeah, I identify as the gender I was born as, by the gender that my genetics identify as, that there's no medical denying my skeletal structure or genitalia or anything else of what I am, regardless of what my brain might think, and my brain thinks that I am a male, right? So cisgendered is this term that they use, but
I mean, I agree that politics are dirty right now in this subject. They're really like, but I would argue that, you know, like changing your name. I mean, the Native Americans had a tradition where you were born with a certain name. When you got to a certain age where your personality came out, you got a name based on that. Mm-hmm. You know, so I understand that people want to evolve from birth. I'm okay with that, you know. And what, you know, whether you want to argue, like, you know, whether someone should be allowed to be another gender or not. I mean, I'm not even going to go into all of that. And I'm in a really gray area with that myself. But in terms of courts being involved in making laws about this stuff, I just don't. I'm just appalled by all of that in general.
Well, and look, to give you exactly,
the legal system should not be involved in these kinds of decisions.
No, it shouldn't.
These are community decisions.
Well, this is specifically decisions between two parents, right?
Right.
And, you know, to tell you exactly where I stand in all this, like, if you want to identify as a sock puppet, I don't care. Like, I really don't. But at the end of the day, medical documentation, everything else, there are two genders.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to, if I as a man want to go to the hospital for menstrual cramps, the doctor should look at me and go, no.
I can't treat you for that.
Yeah. Like,
well, and I really think, though, that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not an expert in this, but my guess is that most of this is psychological, not necessarily physical. You know what I'm saying? And that speaks to what you were saying about the suicide rate. You know, people who are confused about their gender, yeah, they're more likely to commit suicide because
Do they feel isolated?
I mean, yeah, that's got to be extremely difficult to live with. That's always been the case historically,
And that's the reason I brought that up is in this bill specifically, it says for the betterment of the child.
Exactly.
And if they're going to be 7 to 8 times more likely to commit suicide,
Right.
then why don't we wait until the child is old enough and they're out of the parent's house?
Yeah.
Once they're out of the parent's house and they're doing what they want to do, like if they want to be a sock puppet, if they want to be Pepe Le Pew, that's fine.
Well, and again, I think, like you said, it's a community decision. The courts don't have any place in any of these kinds of decisions. I'm appalled that people have custody battles in the first place. I don't think that, it's to me, it's harmful to the child, period. You got two parents fighting in court over what's good for the kid. I mean, how is that helping the kid? There's no reason why two adults can't settle these kinds of things among themselves.
Well, we look at this, just the science behind it, right? And a household with 2 parents, your child is more likely to graduate high school and succeed. That's a household with 2 parents. I'm not saying the parents have to agree. I'm not saying the parents have to be married. I'm not saying the parents have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I'm saying the dichotomy of leading a family takes yin and yang,
Yeah.
right? And there's benefit to that. There is massive medical benefit to that. Look, I know I have acquaintances that politically think very different than I do. Emotionally, spiritually think very differently than I do. And I have a set of friends who, same gender, live together, love each other, and they're raising 2 or 3 little boys. And look, I'm happy for them because these kids have a better chance with the 2 of them raising them than they did where they were before. And I think that's phenomenal. And I commend them on taking up that mantle, right? And it hurts me when I see people struggle to communicate with their children because of all the people that we should be able to communicate with, our children should be the ones we communicate best with.
Your children should be able to trust you enough to go to you and express how they're feeling and what they're going through. But I'm on the same wavelength as Daniel here. Like, I'm constantly telling my kids who are in college level age want something new, more piercings or tattoos. I'm like, I'm not against it. I have them. Just wait a little bit. Let's see how you feel 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. And then if you still have that urge and you want it, then you put thought into that. It's not as severe as changing your gender, right? But it's still a waiting process and trying to force them to dig deep and think about what they really want for themselves.
Well, and look, we can be impulsive creatures.
Absolutely.
I have a friend of mine who literally has your name tattooed on his rear. Like, it's other stuff too, but he's got your name tattooed on his rear. And looking back, he's like, it wasn't that bad of an idea. I'm like, dude, really? And he goes, when you look at the other tattoos I have, that was a really good one. And I'm like, valid, So put thought into things. Think about what you're going to do with it. Think about how this is going to impact the rest of your life. Because no matter what you do, we can't legislate away or into a future. You can't. How we succeed is based upon us and the community that we engage with. And we get stuck in these echo chambers where everyone tells us, hey, you're right, you should do this, and I support you. And then the moment you ask for their support, you're alone. And even though we have to go on a break and you'll be alone for just a little while, we'll still be here waiting with bated breath. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. This is episode 795,112.3, right? Is that on the money, Walker? Yep. He's nodding his head because he forgets that this is radio. I have no clue what episode number this is, but we're up there, I think, at this point in time, going on 5 years. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. My name is Caleb Morris. With me is Jonathan Broussard and Daniel Hale. Hour 1 brought to you by Piper's Haven. Go out, go see Renee, and you know what? Get a good stogie. Get some good pipe tobacco. Having an old-fashioned pipe, smoking an old-fashioned pipe and enjoying just a minute of time outside, regardless of the weather right now, man, it's worth it. It really is.
Most definitely. I recently just got into the pipe smoking in the last maybe 2 years, and kind of stemmed from my dad rarely smoked a pipe, but I have his, and I ventured out and I started getting a little bit deeper into it, and it's really enjoyable, man. It's one of the most pleasant and relaxing of the smokes that I find that you can have.
I've got probably 20 or so different pipes now at this point in my life. From Church of Ardens, like I've got an 18-inch Church of Ardens, which is a real long pipe. I've got an American Poker. I've got one that a brother-in-arms made me while we were overseas. And they all just have such unique stories, right? And then a phenomenal man that I knew, Mr. Jerry, passed away, Navy veteran. And his son gave me his collection of pipes when he passed. So I got to enjoy those. And 2 of them still have his tobacco in them. I refuse to smoke them because he smoked horrible tobacco. But it just reminds me of him. And I'll smell him and I'll have a conversation with him while I smell that tobacco. And to me, it's just something about enjoying an old tradition.
Yeah.
You know, like,
There's more of a ritual to smoking a pipe.
Yeah.
You know, you got to prepare it. You know, you got
tamp
to
it, work it, clean it. It takes effort.
It's maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's me.
You know, and whenever
That's my favorite part, actually,
Yeah.
is all the work involved, you know.
you know, when I think of somebody when they're like, oh, I gotta have a cigarette. I'm like, oh man, you gotta have a cigarette. And I'll be like, you know what? I would like to smoke a pipe. And I'll go sit in the rocking chair or something like that and just take in life. It forces you to slow down.
Yeah.
And if there's anything Renee knows how to do, it's slow down. So go see Renee. Go spend some time over there. And while I'm thinking about it, look, we're recording this on May 6th. Isn't the 11th something important coming up, depending on what you believe?
That would be Sunday?
It's a Hallmark holiday, right?
That'll be this Sunday coming up, right?
This Sunday coming up is Mother's Day.
Yes.
That's one of those, like Valentine's Day, it's a Hallmark holiday is what I call them.
I guess I should have
So-
known that one.
Yeah, well, you know, if we do things right, your mother will know that you love her,
Yeah.
right? She doesn't need you to one day a week remind her how much you love her. And we can all do better by telling our mothers how much we love them. And what they sacrificed as far as with them as an individual, their body, everything for us to be here.
We all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They raised us. We know what we did.
Yeah. You know, and look, I've seen my
sacrificed.
dad, never naked, but I've seen my dad, and I can imagine the willpower it took my mom to go, yeah, okay, honey. So it's one of those moments. Right, Walker? That's what it. No? Was that uncomfortable? Is that what that face is? You should tell your mom that you appreciate her giving in. So maybe that was too much. We'll see. I don't know. Someone will write a letter. But look, Mother's Day is coming up. So take time to thank your mom, not just on Mother's Day, but throughout the year. Thank your father too. As a father, I love when my kids tell me that they love me, right? And to a mom, it means that much more. So I digressed. I want to go into a law that's here in the U.S. now, which is H.R. 867, which is the Anti-Boycott Act. And this came to my attention.
So this is passed already.
What's through the House? It's got to go to the Senate,
Okay,
right?
all right.
Got to go to the Senate. And there's other things that's an addendum to a law, right? They want to add to an anti-boycotting law already. This popped up on my social media through an acquaintance of mine who didn't have a link to the bill, but he had a picture. And the picture said, Congress wants to jail you for 20 years and fine you $1 million for protesting Israel. And I was like, well, I don't agree with that. Like, I agree with free speech. I agree with the First Amendment that we should be able to say F you to whoever, right? Whatever government, whatever entity, whatever it is. Like, you should say, no, I don't want to do that. And the more I started reading it, the more I realized someone lied to him and they tried lying to me. This bill, it does refer to governments and entities that are favorable to the United States. But what it says is prohibited actions include refusing to do business with a company organized under the laws of the boycotted country. So if we have a country like Australia that we have good relations with, a business, school, or other government entity or anything else in the U.S. cannot refuse to do business with a friend of our nation. Now, if our nation is against them, they can choose to be against them. But they cannot choose to be against them for whatever reasons because of where they're from.
What happened to the right to refuse service?
Right. You should be able to, You should be able to, but you cannot boycott based upon a federal boycott or anything else as well. It should be your own intrinsic opinion is my thing. So this goes into government overreach as well, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no doubt.
So we don't need a law to tell us that we should treat someone right or treat someone wrong based upon whatever reasoning. Now, what I see as this and what I've kind of found out about it is there's been a big push over anti-Semitic views recently, right? People who are boycotting Israel because of all this stuff in Gaza and Palestine and everything else. And there has been a big push to stifle disagreement. But the beauty of the First Amendment in the United States is, as an American citizen, you can disagree. You know, and I sent this. You may have got it, Jonathan. Hale, Daniel, I apologize. You didn't get it because I sent this later and I didn't forward it to you. But I literally sent, or what I thought I sent was, what does free speech mean?
Oh, yeah, you did send it. Yeah.
You know, and it starts off, this is from the United States courts.gov, uscourts.gov. Among other cherished values, the First Amendment protects the freedom of speech. The U.S. Supreme Court often has struggled with determining exactly what constitutes free speech. The following are examples of speech, both direct words and symbolic, that the court has decided are either entitled to the First Amendment protections or not. I love the way it starts. The First Amendment states, Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech. It should be that simple.
It seems that simple, right? Yeah. Of course, you know, someone's going to be out there to skew it for us, you know, impose their actions or intentions and have you comply or attempt to have you comply. But
well, then what it goes through is the first one. Freedom of speech includes the right of the individual not to speak. And then it says in parenthesis, specifically the right not to salute the flag. Now, as a veteran, I hold my flag dear, right? I swore an oath to the flag. And for those of you that don't realize it, when you were children and even some of us as adults, we pledge allegiance to the flag. You don't have to. You're not mandated to. It's okay. You can have someone else be as upset as they want to be. You don't have to pledge allegiance to the flag.
You know, I want to say on that, like, I've, you know, had a lot of qualms about that, you know. Mm-hmm. I grew up, you know, I wanted to rebel against everything. So, you know, in school saying the pledge and all that, I never did, you know. And I still have a lot of like distrust and just in general disdain for the federal government.
As you should.
That being said, I'm getting to the point in my life where I understand that the flag is not a representation of the federal government.
Ring the bell.
The flag is a representation of us as a people. And when you make that pledge and when you salute, it's to your neighbor. It's not to the government.
Well, and that's what it's supposed to be. We're here as the United States of America. We're United
Right.
States. And
So
we
all
pledge
that-
allegiance to one another.
All that, you know, rebelling against that, I feel like it's really misplaced. It's a misunderstanding of what that pledge is about and what the flag represents.
Well, and
You know.
we oftentimes get confused, just like sometimes I get confused with tracking of time. So we'll be right back after this quick break. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. My name is Caleb Morris. This is the last segment of Hour 1. We're about to have a lot of fun because we just opened up the Quintera Negra Reposado. Look, the Añejo is good. This Reposado, rested, this is something.
It's very good. It is very good.
Now, and the difference, the Añejo, 18 months. Reposado, 30 months.
Minimum of 30
Yeah.
months, right?
Now, is this a 80 proof as well?
80 proof as well, yeah.
I can barely tell it's tequila.
Yeah.
It is
Now, this to me is blue. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah,
this is on point.
Yeah,
very
I have to agree.
toned down and smooth.
I hope this is not too expensive because I feel like I would like to buy a bottle.
I'm going to look it up. While we're talking about it, I'm going to look it up.
except for the distinct agave flavors that come in any tequila. This is so good because the sweet is toned down to me a little bit. It's really good.
Yeah.
$53.
Come on.
Wow.
$53.
Oh, I'm definitely getting a bottle.
Yeah, this is something special. Like it's not overly sweet. It's crisp. It's clean. Like this is refreshing. I would like this in a chilled glass on the beach, like just as it is. Ooh, I bet you a little hint of lime would be awesome on top too.
I'd love to share this, like with
I'm not
friends
special.
and family. No, but no, but I mean like people who don't,
Yeah.
normally drink tequila. Like, hey, try this.
Well, that's
I agree with that. I like both of these will make tequila haters. Because it goes one of two ways with tequila. Most people hate it or they love it.
Well, it's because when they think of tequila, they think of like rot gut.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like you gotta
Exactly.
prepare for
3
the,
days hangover, right?
Yeah,
But yeah,
the
this-
salt and the lime and all that bull.
I think this would sway a lot of people. A lot of people.
Yeah,
I might have to try it on a few inside my residence.
This is pretty delicious, and like just like a good bourbon, a good tequila is meant to be enjoyed. And you can enjoy it by yourself, but with friends, with family, in a moment like this is memories to make. And it's not about chasing the buzz. It's not about going down and finding the bottom of the bottle. It's about enjoying a good time with good people. And unfortunately,
Cheers.
I guess, yeah, cheers, salute. Salute. And unfortunately, we can't always enjoy a good time with good people, especially if you're a member of the Opelousas City Council. And I bring this up because it's in the news. KDN did a little thing on it. They've been on there recently as well. Opelousas has to do some stuff to get its act together. And for those of y'all that are listening to us that are maybe not from Louisiana, Opelousas is a once flourishing city in Louisiana. It was the capital of the state for a little while. It was the hub for commerce, everything else. And then they had the orphan train that went there. So we had all these people from across the United States that were brought here. And Opelousas just really started taking a turn for the worse after World War II. They passed up on the mall, which came here to Lafayette. So a lot of their economic growth went there. And they just never really seemed to advance past 1970. And here we are, this city council meeting, they were talking about a 1% sales tax, okay? A 1% sales tax that is going to expire that they want to renew. Now, the city of Opelousas, correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone out there is watching this and if they know I'm wrong, let me know. But the city's broke. People don't want to stay there. They don't want to open businesses there. Opelousas is one of the most violent cities in the state of Louisiana. The political field there is horrible, right? But the younger generation, like I have to give it up to Seth Robin. He has Benny's grocery store there. Seth bought that, started off as a cart, like the buggy guy who played Buggy Roundup and got it. He did that. He did cashier, everything else. And now here he is. Seth, I don't know how old you are now. I've known you since you were a little kid. Owns the place.
He's older. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a success.
Worked up and came to it. And look, Seth and Eric and Chad, his brothers, had a phenomenal dad, right? Who spoke love into them and raised them to be phenomenal young men because of the example that he set. And they're trying to change Opelousas. And there are people that are trying to change Opelousas. Opelousas, when I left that city, I left the state and I never wanted to come back. That's the God's honest truth. And it's disheartening because Louisiana has a lot to offer, but sometimes these cities get stuck in a rut. And a heated debate broke out over this 1% sales tax. The chief of police threatened to arrest multiple business owners. And from what I'm gathering, they're just ignoring things. There's a person there in Opelousas who hasn't had running water for over a year because of a faulty leak, and they can't fix the leak. One of the people who actually got in this argument with the chief of police and the city council has been posting videos on his social media. He went out today, I believe, and there's a leak that was fixed for a sewage line where they went in, opened it up, found the leak, didn't repair it, just patched it, and then backfilled the road with gravel. So is a 1% sales tax really gonna fix what people allow?
No.
If that's what their supervisors say are okay, if that's what the city council says is okay, is a 1% sales tax going to fix that? Or does the city need more work? And I don't think any amount of money is going to change that. You can't teach someone to care if they don't care.
I think part of the issue on their side is that how bad the city's going to suffer without this tax anymore. Because they've been, what was it, since 1975 it's been in
Correct.
place.
Yeah.
They've been dependent on that. And I think from what the article may have said, they're going to call it losing money, lose up to $1 million in summertime.
Yes. Over some time, they're looking at losing $1 million.
So my question is is it going to spiral down even harder in that town without this, or some people just going to be missing a little bit of pocket money?
You know,
that's the question that has to be answered.
a balanced budget is a monitored budget, just like we have to monitor our time. So hang on, sit tight for hour 2 of Implicit Bias. Welcome back to hour 2 of Implicit Bias, where we've started on a second bottle of tequila. We didn't finish the first. Shame on us. But we've started this second one, and my God, is it delicious.
Wait, hold on. They're both delicious, but we still
They are.
can't forget that they are tequila.
They are tequila. And look, I like tequila. I'm a whiskey, I'm a bourbon, I'm a rye guy, but I enjoy me some tequila. I really do. Not just on Cinco de Mayo. You know, like I enjoy tequila throughout the year. Now I enjoy street tacos throughout the year too, right? So and habaneros. But there's something about a good tequila that is just different. It's almost like a dessert, in my opinion.
So if we don't finish the bottle, let's pull a Milli Vanilli, right? Let's blame it on the rain that's happening outside.
It's coming down. I brought my rubber boots inside because I'm wearing these little cloth Hey Dudes, and I knew I would need them, especially when I looked down and I saw Walker wearing slides with socks. I was like, I bet you $5 those socks come off when he walks outside. They're gonna have to. They're gonna have to be covered in ants, but he'll have to. But yeah, so tequila's a little different from Implicit. We enjoy our libation. We enjoy liquor. And there's something about having a great group of guys to drink it with, a great group of people to drink it with that you really enjoy, that makes it just a little bit better. So one of the topics that I sent that probably no one looked at, but it's okay because I sent it at like 4 o'clock. There is a group or a thing I follow on social media on Instagram called the Tuttle Twins. And it's cartoons. And they get into political dialect, political things. And one of them is tribalism, right? So the video I sent was about tribalism. It's like, look, the problem with a two-party system is people vote based upon what party they're part of. And they no longer search for truth. They just vote along with party letters and party colors. And when you value team loyalty, I'm air quoting here for those of you that can't see, team loyalty over truth, that's tribalism. That's when you're no longer saying, I care about what's right versus I just care about what I'm told to care about. You have to do your own research. You have to sit down and pay attention to the nitty gritty. You need to be educated. I've said it before, an educated populace is an informed populace, is a dangerous populace. And the government should be afraid of us as a people, not us afraid of the government. Because we hold the power, they don't hold the power.
Well, again, I think that comes back to a point I made earlier is that, you know, it takes courage to go against your peers. You know, it really does. And I haven't seen very much of that, you know, that particular brand of courage. You know, most people are willing to just go with the flow and, you know, whatever my friends think or, you know, whatever my family thinks. And, you know, to be able to have your own thoughts, that's
powerful.
special. That's something special, you know, and you don't see it that often.
You know, and a lot of people are raised, you know, like I was raised Southern Democrat, right? So a Southern Democrat is different. My uncle was the only Republican in our family. And whenever I got time for me to vote, like talk to my grandfather about what he believed and everything else. And his was pretty much like he voted based on letters. And I love my grandfather to death, but he didn't do a lot of research on it. I started talking to my uncle. My uncle would do all this research. He's like, look, I don't really care. R, D, I, whatever it is. I vote based off what I think is right. And that's what we should do. You know, this two-party system where it comes down to which one's spending more money on advertising. I'm not. That's what it is. It's advertising.
That's right. Yeah. The tribalism is led by the chief, right? And the chief is being the media, which is manipulating and spewing lies. And
Imagine what could be done if all of those advertising dollars went into actual policy and, getting done.
Well, and write that time down, Walker. And when you sit down and look at it, and you're like, someone's going to spend $1 billion on political ads on a position that pays $120,000 a year. Who's investing a billion for that? What's the reasoning? And a lot of people are lining their pockets based off the back of the taxpayer, right? And look, there's one thing to speak about the greater good. There's another thing to vote for the greater good. And look, I tend to vote more Republican. I vote very conservative. But there are times when I disagree.
absolutely. But I think knowing you, there's a time when you research that and searched your own being, saying, this is what I believe in. And this is what aligns with my beliefs and what I'm willing to push. Not just blindly going out there and because somebody said I should vote this way.
Yeah,
And I think we all have to be truthful to what we believe in and acknowledge that and dig deep exactly what that is and go forward from that.
we should. Like I call family members when it's time to vote. I'm like, hey, did you go vote? And two of my aunts vote the exact opposite of the way that I would vote or do vote. And they say, why are you reminding me? Because I want you to vote. It's that important. Well, we're gonna cross you out. Like we're gonna negate your vote. Perfectly fine. I want you to go vote. Whether you agree or disagree, educate yourself on it. Don't just vote because someone on TV paid $50,000 to hear their voice. Vote because you think it's the right thing or the wrong thing. Vote yay or nay. And what gets me is a lot of these politicians that are in office, they get up there, they propose a bill, they author a bill, and then when it comes time to vote on their bill that they wrote, what do? Nothing. They don't vote that they're against it or for it on their own bill. I would think that they would vote that they were for it because they're the one who wrote the stupid thing.
Well, if they don't, they can't be on record for voting
Right.
for something that might turn out.
And it's
Backwards.
optics. They're all playing the optics game. We have politicians who are in there because they want to be there forever, not because they want to make a change, not because they want to better our society.
But there's a reason for that. If you couldn't get rich being a politician, that wouldn't be the case. So do we change that? And if so, how do we change that?
Well, that's the thing is it's how. How do we restrict the actions and abilities someone has while they're in office, right?
Yeah,
And
because to me, it's public service.
you're supposed to be a public servant.
Yeah. So to me, the idea of any kind of profit completely goes against the whole, purpose,
purpose.
Of your position. You're not there to make money. You're there to serve the people. And if that's not your goal, then what are you doing?
Well, but that also assumes that the people in office are there because they want to help the American people. A lot of people in political office are there because they want to suck off the government teat and get what they can from the American taxpayer to better their family. And when you look at some of these politicians who go into office worth 60, 70, 80 grand, whatever, and now are worth 10 million.
Astronomical amount. Yeah.
And when you look at, I don't remember the name of the website you can go to where you can see how some of these politicians, how they vote and what they invest their money in. Man, they just happen to know what they're doing when it comes to their investment. They should open up their own investment firm, right? With how successful they are. And we would all call this insider trading, but it's okay for them. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
Absolutely not.
And it's disheartening. It really is, because
It's aristocracy. It's modern day aristocracy.
very good use of that word.
Didn't we have that in government at one time where you could not own a business if you ran for certain political offices? Wasn't that?
That I
I don't
don't
know
know.
if it was maybe a written law or just a known. It seems to me as a younger man, I remember people wanting Lee Iacocca to run for office, and him saying that he was not willing to step down, as he was with Chrysler at that time, not leave what he had built at that point. So
Yeah, it would depend on if they had a conflict of interest or not, depending on what it was.
yeah, and my memory might be failing me on if there was a specific reason for that, him saying that, or if it was just a personal concept he had. If I'm going to run the government, I'm going to have to leave this behind. I don't remember.
Well, and there was there's someone that I know that was asked to, a friend of his was asked to look at a position within Health and Human Services, and he would have to step down from his business and diversify it. He goes, look, I've spent 30 years building this business to where it is now. I'm not going to diversify it and watch what I've built fall apart without me at the helm. He goes, could I help the American people? Yes. Is it selfish of me? Yes. But I'm not going to do it. And there are certain things where the conflict of interest is there, and individuals can differentiate and delineate those, and they can step back and walk away from things. But it's really hard, especially whenever the Bible tells us the heart of man is wicked, right? And now we have people telling us, well, trust your heart. The Bible says the heart of man is wicked.
Do not trust your heart.
And we have everyone else saying, well, trust your heart. Do what makes you feel happy. If you run for political office, it should not be an easy decision. You should weigh it with great regard, because you should sacrifice. Public service is a sacrifice. And we look at it now, and you look at the politics and the way it is with this tribalism and everything else. One side or both sides is going to drag your name through the mud, and you and your family will suffer.
Maybe we could do something. I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe we
Spitball.
could do something like mandatory service, kind of like the draft, right? But for the government. And so it's like you don't necessarily want to, but you have to because it's your duty as a citizen. And you just have a short little term. You just got to do the best you can while you're in there.
Even on a macro level or a micro level, something in small government, or even when you look at what services were designed during World War II, welfare and everything else, you worked for the government for a brief period of time to clean up parks and clean up the city and take care of your community.
Right. Yeah, because then it takes out all the other corruption, where now it really is like a public service. It's a civilian duty,
I think the problem we're going to run into, as long as man's involved, there will be corruption.
Yeah. Well, yeah, corruption you can't get away from.
So
But how can we minimize?
And how can you minimize the aftershock?
Right. At least we have to shorten terms.
Shorten terms, restrict number of terms. You shouldn't have somebody that can sit in political office and vote president for 20 years.
For life. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Agreed. I've heard this from a local politician a couple of elections ago, and his opening line was, I'm going to be here for 4, maybe 8 years. After that, I'm going back to my 9 to 5 job. He said, I'm done no matter how it turns out. And that's one thing I can promise you. You don't hear that from a lot.
No. I can actually commend Clay Higgins on this. The last election, I was talking to him about running again and everything else. He goes, Caleb, if God wants me in office, I'll be in office. And can you guess how much he spent on his campaign? I think he took out one ad. It was like $1,100.
Oh, wow.
He did like one ad. And look, I'm making that number up, so I don't know, but it was one ad. And he won by a landslide.
All right.
And he's like, God still wants me here. And I was like, well, you didn't want to. He goes, I spent that money because I legally had to. He goes, I was told that he was my ethics board and all this other said I had to spend this much to do this, so I did. He goes, but I figured if my people wanted me in office, I would be reelected.
It seems like he was okay stepping away if the populace went the other way, which is commendable.
It is, and love him or hate him. The man that Clay is today is not the man that he was years ago, and I'm very happy for Representative Higgins and what he's doing for us as a state. And I wish that more and more Americans would do more for their state and sit down at the end of the day and say, you know what? I'm not going to spend any money on a campaign if I don't have to. I'm not going to go out and do this and do that and then play this game that I don't want to play. because that's what it comes down to. Is they're sitting there and they're like, well, how do I get the new Ferrari? How do I get the next house? How do I get this? Whose back do I have to climb over to get here? And that's what this political game has become. And it's just
Exhausting.
exhausting. I can't imagine being in it and what it is. Walker, can you? I only called on you because I knew you weren't paying attention. So
You got me.
So I don't know, man. Like the political game, it just at the end of the day, our national politics don't affect us as much as we really think they do.
You
But on a
got
local
to
level.
have like a purpose, for it to be right. And I've witnessed at one time, my godmother was a county commissioner in Florida where I grew up. And her thing was saving Cross Creek wetlands from being developed. And she succeeded. And, she stayed in long enough to get that job done and then got the hell out because it was too much, and death threats, all that stuff. But now the same people who hated her for stopping them from making money on the sale of their land now come and thank her for having preserved what they cherished and loved, which, was the land they grew up on. They didn't realize what they were going to lose, and now that they still have it, they realize what how
What a
important-
blessing that was to have them. Yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier about let's wait it out. You want to destroy national wetlands, and then let's think about this for a little while. Let's wait this out and see how we feel a couple of years from now.
Imagine what our coastline would look like if we still had some old growth forest. Mm-hmm.
Well, you look at the swamps and everything else where we cut down so many big cypress, did all this other, and the logging industry, we were like, look, people back then, that's how they made their survival. And they had these little, what would they call them, tug boats or putt boats? Do you know one?
Putt boats.
Putt boat, yeah. And the trees that we cut down and everything else we did. And look, it was good. People made money. They made beautiful homes and everything else. But look at what we lost.
Right. And we'll never get it back.
No.
We'll never get it back.
And that's the thing is we have to know the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, sometimes there's a cost of doing business, even doing a radio show. So that's it for hour 2, segment 1. Sit tight. We'll be right back with more Implicit Bias. Welcome back to Implicit Bias. You're listening to us on something with your ears. Thank you for tuning in.
And a speaker.
And a speaker, yeah, valid point. Thank a scientist or an inventor, someone who said we can do this better. So you're listening to us the week before or the weekdays before Mother's Day. If you celebrate Mother's Day, if you don't celebrate Mother's Day, it's okay either way. If you do celebrate, or even if you don't celebrate, if your mother celebrates, celebrate it, right? So go out. William S. Nacall, hour 2 brought to you by William S. Nacall. They can help you in a pinch. They've got a ton of different things that you can use to show your mother that you love her if you think a gift will fill the hole that you left in her heart.
And hey, if she drinks tequila,
If she drinks tequila, go see New News and get this Quintera Negra. Look, the Añejo is phenomenal, solid green. The Reposado, I said blue.
blue. I'm
Yeah,
with you on
blue.
that.
This Reposado is something special.
Yep.
Please go see New News. Go see your local libation distribution center. And Quintera Negra, if you can see it on the screen right now, thank Tug. He's the one who's zooming in right now on the bottom of the bottle to show you that it's 80 proof. Is that not what you're doing right now, Tug? Yep. See, boom. Aha, I knew it. Jean Paul's, wow. New News does a phenomenal job with us on these, and they help supply us with all the bourbon we normally need. And tonight, it is tequila. So we appreciate you, New News. We appreciate all that you do, and we appreciate all that you do for Acadiana. But go out wherever you are throughout the state of Louisiana, wherever you are and you're listening to this, find it, seek it out. Quintera Negra, Reposado, worth drinking.
Well
Worth-
priced.
Yes.
Priced.
If you when you think of tequila, if you think of hangover and heartache, this is not it. This is not it. So we just finished up talking about some more politics and everything else, and we're going to kind of go down a deeper rabbit hole. to everyone's favorite character, and that is Sean Puffy Combs. Right? You like how I led into that? I did a good job of that, right, Walker?
Great job.
Yeah. Ever since he did Godzilla, I knew something was happening. So today, the 6th, is whenever they started going through and trying to find the jury selection, everything else, trying to limit it. And what they found is it's very difficult on a jury to find somebody who's never heard of Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, P. Diddler, the Dangler, whatever you want to call him. It's really hard to find people who haven't heard of this man because he was so influential in the 90s, early 2000s with his music. I don't know how they're going to have a non-biased jury.
It's not going to be easy.
I don't think it'll be feasible.
I doubt they were able to with OJ. I mean,
Valid point.
yeah.
Well, I think what you also fixing to talk about is the other thing that was discovered, which is going to make it extremely hard to have honest people come out of the woodworks and sit on a trial for this guy without fear and repercussion from some of the big names that are on this list.
There are some massive names on this list.
Not to say they are implicated in anything else other than being at the party.
They attended a party.
A party.
I never had the pleasure, we'll use it that way, of being invited to one of Diddy's, what do you call them, white parties or white collar parties, white shirt parties? What were they called, Walker?
How would I know?
I don't know, man. Like you have more influence than I do. I think you didn't get an invite.
No, he didn't invite me.
Does he do that by email or by snail mail?
I don't know. That's a good idea. Good question.
I don't think you can mail that much baby oil in the postal system. I'm not sure. But what we look at is there's some names on this list, like a former vice president who ran for office. There's a ton of other people on it. And, individuals are learning that he was connected in every aspect of government, in every aspect of the music industry. And I don't know if he'll ever sat down and read some of the charges. He's facing 55 charges, some of which include sex trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy. This is pretty big. He's being, accused of running a criminal enterprise with the help of associates and employees since 2004 that engaged in or attempted to engage in sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, and many, many more.
Arson.
That one caught me off guard.
Well, this is interesting because I remember a show where we talked about the fires in California and how.
You think he did it just to hide?
Well, we spoke about it.
Yeah,
what disappears whenever there's a fire?
It's hard.
Evidence.
It's hard to keep evidence, and whenever everything's
right. So the fact that that's even a charge on this list is pretty interesting because I've never heard any other stories that P. Diddy had a campfire and it started in somebody's
basement.
You're right.
It just. Some of the list has been leaked here, been leaked there, and is going through, and there are a lot of names on it. And it's scary when you think about the number of people that are on this list. I mean, Maxine Waters is one of the names that's on it. Kamala Harris is on it. There are other names, Michael Bloomberg.
Bloomberg, yes.
John Kennedy is on it. It continues to go down and down and down, and it makes you wonder, is there anyone?
Even royalty.
A lot of royalty. Is there anyone that he didn't find a way to coerce or blackmail?
There was no John Smiths on this.
No.
There was everything you see and read is recognizable. And those names carry some weight with them, if I dare to say that.
And it's a shame because there are people on this list that you would not expect to see. And it makes you wonder what got them there. Was it, look, I think in the 90s, if one of us had been invited to a Puff Daddy party or something in the 90s, we probably would have gone, right? Because we're like, man, that's Puff Daddy, that's Sean Combs. And then
I would have gone at any time just to people watch, you know? I mean, honestly, you're going to get exposed to like
Something.
yeah.
At least
So,
the influence that's there. I mean, when you look
it's
at
better than going to the movies.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
You know? And yeah, you got to be careful, right? But
Well, like right here, this
would've gone.
list: Jay-Z, Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez, Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, Naomi Campbell, Mary J. Blige, Leonardo DiCaprio. Like the people that went to these things,
It's not everyday Jules.
that's A-listers.
I would, I don't know from experience, obviously, but I would guess that once you attain a certain level of, let's say, just privilege, life gets boring. That's my guess. Your life starts to lose a little bit of meaning and purpose, and you're always chasing that next thrill. And if someone can, open that door to, hey, safely come to the other side for a little bit, it's got to be very enticing.
You know, and I don't know if I think boring is the right term, right? And look, I don't think that these people got necessarily bored. They got tired of getting away with certain things, right? So they pushed the envelope,
Right,
And they wanted
exactly.
to see what they could get away with. And
Exactly,
what they
yeah.
learned is they could get away with whatever money would allow them to get away with.
That's got to be thrilling. It's kind of like Winona Ryder shoplifting, right? It's like you don't need to, but it's the thrill.
Well, and that's people that they don't have an escape. They have nothing else to live their life for, right? Because they've become everything they aspired to, and they didn't have the next set of goals.
Right,
They didn't look for like, well, what's the next thing?
right.
What can I do to better my nation? What can I do to better my community? What can I do to better whatever? They said, I have reached my pinnacle, and this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
And it's disheartening.
Again, I'm not speaking from experience, but my guess is, from what it looks like, their daily life is very oppressive. What they can do, what they can't do, what they can say, what they can't say, what they can eat, what they can't eat. Like everything is controlled to a certain degree. Like you want to maintain this level, this is the hoop you got to jump through constantly, probably like a complete lack of freedom on a day-to-day basis. So then it's like you get this chance to just go crazy and just be as free as you want to be.
I never thought about it like that because that's one of the big things you
It's
hear.
it's an opportunity to let loose. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I've heard this about a very popular basketball player who frequents this area, who has everything he wants, yet alone time with his family is very hard to come by, and enjoying life as a normal person is very hard to come by.
Well, thankfully, we all get to enjoy it. I know I enjoy what I do, and I'll enjoy it for at least 2 more segments. Be right back with your Implicit Bias. Welcome back to segment 3 of hour 2 of your Implicit Bias. You're listening to us on a number of radio stations. Your local radio station, call, write, email. Don't send them a fax. It's not 1975 anymore. It's 2025. Email them and let them know that you appreciate listening to us on their airtime. We enjoy what we do, but you know what? Go in, write us a review, let us know what we can do better, and then tune in. And now we have bonus content, which I don't think Walker likes, but that's okay. Bonus content where you can subscribe to us and see us in between takes, kind of what we do. You can also go on KLFY Plus and follow us there, the newest streaming platform where you can get your news that we are very, very happy to be a part of. So all that stuff is done. Now we can talk about fun things like Puff Daddy and his freak-offs. That is legitimately what he called them. He called them freak-offs. I wanted to make sure I got that right so I could dive right into that part of this segment. It blows my mind the way that they spoke about these get-togethers and what they did. I mean, people were abused physically, emotionally, and sexually by numerous people. I thought you were passing me water, Walker. I really was. I was like, do I look thirsty?
Now, I want to throw this in there, though. I want to throw this in there.
Okay.
Because I saw some people, talking about how they were, abused and whatnot. it seemed to me like a lot of these people knew the danger ahead of time, but wanted the cherry.
Well,
And I'm not saying they deserved it. Don't get me wrong. But I am saying they're not as much victims as
It
some
could have been avoided.
sources would like.
I
to
would
show.
assume not everyone is as much of a victim as they seem to be, right?
And some of them were opportunical victims.
You know, and
That's a word.
look,
Because if you know it's dangerous and you go ahead and do it anyway,
well, like when you look at the sex trade, okay? When you look at the sex trade, there are people that sell their children into the sex trade
right.
because it gives them a means to survive.
Now that's different
That-
because
I'm
that's
not-
somebody
yeah.
just being snatched
Yeah,
up. Against
I'm not
their will.
condoning that in any way, shape, or form, but there are people that sell their children into the sex trade,
Right.
And then there are people that voluntarily go into that, and
Right.
you know what we call that? The adult film industry, right? So then they go into it, and then 10, 15 years later, when they want to have a normal life or something resembling that, and they want off the drugs, they want off the sin and everything else, and they realize the emotional damage of what it's really cost them. It's hard to become clean of that.
Right. Now,
And-
I'm not saying that we shouldn't have some empathy,
Well, I'm
For
not
some of
trying to
these
say you're trying to diminish
Yeah.
what they have,
but at the same time, it's not complete victim. They're not snatching people off the
Right.
street.
or at least we hope not. And some may have been, but some weren't.
You know,
Yeah.
We all know in today's world there are people who are opportunists, right?
Right.
And going to take advantage of every situation
That's right.
you possibly can. So could it have been that? Absolutely, could have been that. And I'm sure not everybody was not,
Well,
you know,
When
looking.
you just look at OnlyFans, right? Since COVID, I saw a statistic recently that said OnlyFans subscribers has gone up by 1,200 and some odd %. Right, subscribers, people on it have gone up by like 800%. Okay, and then people that are now trying to get off of it, and they talk about how they've catfished and everything else, how people make this material, they sell the material, and then they have a group of people in Thailand posing as these people to communicate, to pay and charge and all this. But then whenever they back out of this lifestyle and they want to try to be a normal person,
There's a price to pay.
there's a price to pay.
Right.
And all of a sudden they realize what it really cost them.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you're scarred for life.
Integrity is priceless,
It is.
and you can't get it back.
You spend a lifetime trying to build integrity
Right.
to lose it in a moment.
Right.
And you have to value yourself. And many people use the sexualization of their body or of their persona for profit.
Correct.
And they don't realize what it costs them.
Yeah, especially being young and dumb when it's just hormones and partying and whatnot.
You don't realize it. You don't know what it really is and what it means to love someone. And if you don't love yourself, you don't really understand what it means to be loved by someone else. That's when we talk about the love that our Creator has for us. If you don't have a certain level of love for yourself, it's really hard to understand, because how can someone love you like that if you don't even love yourself that way?
Absolutely.
And people get stuck in this looking at themselves as a commodity, because that's what the world will tell you.
Well, and it's easy. I mean, it's
in that industry, yes.
I thank God that I was not born a female, because I know I would have been on that. I mean, it's too easy, and it's like I said, especially when you're young, you're like, man, I don't want to work. I just want to make it.
Yeah.
So, and this is
It's a
Why
quick,
not?
it's a direct route.
so easy.
And people think that they're going to get everything they want, and they don't realize the emotional, mental, and spiritual cost
Yep.
associated with certain things.
Yep.
Brings on generational ties. We speak about that in our small groups a lot. Even so much as having underage sex with someone you're not married with, right? You're connected with that. That's a tie that you have, whether it's a good thing and it lasts forever, but that is your tie. So these people, which you're speaking of, are tied into multiples, and it's got to be a hard reckoning for the soul at the end of the day when life really hits.
You know, if you look at your body as something that can be consumed, every time you share it with someone, you're losing a portion, right? So the time that we're spending here with one another, those of you that are listening to us, you're giving up something of yourself to hear this, to be entertained by us or to commune with us. And if you do that with more than just time, and you do that with a physical aspect of your body, you're giving up something you'll never give back. So it needs to be valuable. What you spend your time on, what you spend your person on, needs to be valuable.
I think that this is a plague, without being too dramatic, a plague on our culture. The way
It's the most addictive drug that people know.
Well, not only that, but I think especially when it comes to our young girls, they are taught from birth almost that their beauty and their sexual appeal is their worth, period. You know, and as a culture, we have to remedy that. We have to start teaching our young girls that they're more than just attractive.
Well, you know, it's how we classify beauty, you know, and a person, true beauty is on the inside and out. And look, we all love we all love the visual aspect of it. But when you find someone that's a genuine soul, that's beautiful on the inside and out, then you can have real love, real connection, you know, and
this is why you get married.
this is why you get married. And we sacrifice so much, and we don't realize what we're giving, what we're losing, because women, society, and today's culture will tell you that based upon the look, the shape of the curves, the this, the that, that's where their value is. And a man's value is based upon the checking account, right? And then they go back and forth, and we wonder why we have marriages that don't last.
Right.
Because we think that if the man can't provide $100,000 a year and the woman doesn't have whatever the shape is, that Sir Mix-a-Lot said, right? Like, they're not beautiful.
Right. To me, it is tragic that any woman can't feel comfortable leaving the house without makeup. Just that, to me, is tragic. You know, that, oh, I don't feel valuable unless I'm dolled up somehow. You know, that should not be the case. You know, I understand it's fun. You know, I like to dress up, you know.
Everyone
right?
likes to put on a facade for a little while, you know.
Right. But the fact that a woman can't even feel normal without it, something's wrong.
Well, you know what you can't feel normal without? At least one more break. We'll be right back with more Implicit Bias. Welcome back to a final segment of Implicit Bias. Not the final. We're going to continue this on for as long as you'll listen to us, which hopefully is years to come. At least if we're still drinking tequila till the end of this bottle. So the last segment, I kind of want to go on to something that I'm happy I didn't send to y'all because y'all wouldn't have read it anyway. But does the name Admiral Rachel Levine mean anything to you? That was the admiral over, I don't even know why it's an admiral. I couldn't tell you what it was. It wasn't the Navy.
Wait. First female admiral.
First female admiral, but it's really a man.
It's really a man. That
really a man.
Transitioned to a female.
Yeah. So bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, right? You can't give a female credit when it's really a male. That diminishes the value of a female. You know,
right.
It disheartening. It separate topic, but it hurts me whenever I see like Time Magazine's Woman of the Year being a man.
Yes.
Like that just degrades women. I digress.
I agree.
So back to the topic. There was a Supreme Court case course against Trump's ban on transgendered people in the military because this admiral was relieved of command, relieved of their duty. And the Supreme Court didn't even hear the case because they said, well, a service member serves at the request, a commissioned officer serves at the request of the commander-in-chief. Who's the commander-in-chief?
President.
El Presidente, right? And the commander-in-chief said, no more transgender. You're relieved of your command. You're relieved of your duty. And Admiral Levine said that it's sexist. The man that's posing as a woman said it's sexist because he's not getting the benefits of being a woman. And he can't fulfill his duties because of her miscommunication or misidentification. At the end of the day, whatever the commander-in-chief says when you're in the military is what it is. Like you forego your right to a lot of disagreements whenever you raise your hand and swear to uphold the Constitution and follow your commander in chief.
Yeah, you did swear. And I have a hard time hearing out someone that exclaims sexist in that situation. So I'm like totally confused. Like, right?
Oh, yeah.
So wait, how, why, where, which way do we go with this? You know, how are we to? If you're not comfortable with yourself, don't ask us to be comfortable with.
Yeah,
yourself, right?
and I think it really just diminishes and degrades the women that wear the uniform whenever a man can
Most definitely.
can pretend to wear this uniform to get the rank of admiral. Because when you look back at how the promotion was done and everything else, there were people who had more merit that were passed up the promotion. This was a PR stunt.
Absolutely.
And that's what hurts the most is this was a PR stunt, and it really degrades the women that wear the uniform, that do the job, and that kick ass at it. And it degrades their sacrifice and everything else they've done. And that's what this whole thing hurts me the most is when we have men claiming sexism because they don't get certain privileges, certain rights, but yet
Of
women,
the other sex.
of the other sex. And we have women, we have female athletes who work their butt off to get to a certain level and then show up and get beat by a D-list man who happened to wear a tutu that day for the sole fact that he wanted to come in first place and couldn't against his peers. Why? When did we stop protecting women? When did men and women stop protecting women? When did we allow this to happen?
And when did we stop saying it's okay that you did not come in first? Doesn't define you, doesn't define the rest of your life, doesn't mean you're worth less. Just means that you're not the fastest runner.
I remember years ago, I played baseball, right? And wasn't very good. And played ball, and I got like the coach's award. And everyone gets these awards and everything else. And I was like, Coach, what's the coach's award? And he goes, well, you had the most heart. He goes, you're not the fastest. You are one of our worst hitters. You're not a very good catcher. He goes, but you try. And I was like, well, should I try again next year? He goes, probably not. Okay. I mean, I got it. Like, I'm giving it my all, but at some point I had to realize, like, I wasn't going to play pro ball, you know? And it needs to be that way. Someone has to sit there and tell you from a position of love, like, look, man, you're giving it your all, but you kind of suck at math. You know, maybe we should look at a different career field besides engineering.
Yeah, somebody
Or
has to
continue
tell
to
us that.
fail. I mean,
Or-
it's okay.
Well, yeah, but we're not letting people fail anymore.
Right. Yeah.
People are afraid of the word failure because they think that if you fail, you're a failure. Was it Thomas Edison that said, ask me how to make a light bulb and I'll show you 999 ways how not to? I'm paraphrasing there, right? So like we have to be okay and understand that it's through failure and uncomfortableness that we grow. But at the end of the day, our uncomfortableness can't be to diminish someone else's value.
I like the difference between a master and an amateur is the master has failed more times than the amateur has tried.
That's good.
So,
You know, we have to be okay and understand that we're not going to be good at everything that we do.
well, and you learn much more from a failure than you do from an accidental
Accidental success.
success. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know why you succeeded.
Right. But
You
when
know-
you fail, you learn. You learn well.
And
You know.
when we look at everything that the people in this room know, did we know it the first day that we were what we would call a professional? Walker, no one heard you shake your head.
No.
You know, and we have to be okay to throw it all. You know, like the poem "If," put all your winnings on one game of pitch and toss, and you have to be willing to risk it. You have to be okay with win or lose, because at the end of the day, you'll win or you'll lose. You can't sit there on the sidelines and not live life, and that's what so many people do.
Well, I would even argue that it's not winning or losing, it's just playing. Because there is no finish line, right?
Yeah.
In life, there's no finish line. It's just playing. you know, and the winning and losing part, that's just, you know, coincidental.
The only real defeat we find is the defeat at death. Everything else was just chance. And I'm happy you took a chance and listened to the show. I'm happy that you sat down and said, you know what? Tequila today might be the answer. We'll have more bourbon. We'll have more rye. Tune in to your Implicit Bias.